does that look like actually at speaking to those companies directly? Because I think a lot of people that have kind of campaigned on the outside, they kind of see it as this sort of tea and biscuits, nicey chat, that and sustainability and any of that stuff kind of gets left to right at the end of the conversation and doesn't really mean anything, and no change is actually influenced. So what, now that you're actually in there and doing it, like what does it look like? How, you schedule a meeting with the, who is it, I mean, and then what happens next?
So we've only heard a few because it is quite difficult actually to get to get a meeting to begin with. So that's, I think, and that's interesting coming from ShareAction, because obviously it was always difficult to ShareAction because we're an NGO, but actually, even on the other side, there's so many asset managers and asset owners asking for meetings, asking for all different major things, that it's still not, that easy to just ring people up and it's the same, and it's the same with ShareAction. You are trying to build a bit of a relationship. Like, you can't just go in there and say you need to do this now, because they're going to be like, well, thanks, but we won't speak to you again. There's no kind of, so yeah, it's interesting actually. It's quite hard, I would say. I feel like we're quite early in that direct engagement and trying to establish a couple of those relationships and establish actually what companies aren't kind of already getting so much attention. And we've sent a lot of letters out, and what's interesting is it's quite a similar pattern to like a process that ShareAction would follow. So they would send a letter to companies, they'd try and get a meeting, they'd try and get a few investors involved. It's quite a similar process on the other side. Like, it doesn't feel that different, I think. And even with the conversations with asset managers, like, it's not that different than the conversations ShareAction would have. It's still like the same challenging questions. I think the probably difference is that we are a client, so if we want to be a bit more heated, we obviously can. But then ShareAction could go to the press if they wanted, and take that route. So it's much more similar than I thought it would be, actually.
Oh, that's
Which is,
really
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.